Again, now let's go to Cape Town. Helen Zille is eyeing another term as the DA Federal Council Chair. She's been nominated to be at the helm for another 3 years. Now, Zille's office is tasked with steering party structures, its systems and processes. The main opposition party is hosting its National Elective Conference next month. The nominations close on Monday. The final list is expected to be announced tomorrow. Let's get some more on this. I'm joined now by Helen. Good afternoon, Helen. Welcome to today here on eNCA. Thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, Dan. It's good to be with you. Thank you.
Why have you put your hand up for a possible second term and another 3 years?
Well, I've been nominated by Helen Zille, and I was very honored to be nominated by him. So, yes, I said yes when he approached me, and other people have approached me too. So I'm enjoying the job. I find it a challenge, but we are making progress. And so I'd like to finish what I started.
And therefore, if you get elected, you will pursue whatever you've been busy with currently as the Federal Council Chair?
Yes, indeed. Yes, it's a complex position. In the ANC, it would have been called the Secretary General. But we don't have the Secretary General's position. We have the Chair of the Federal Council and the Federal Executive. And it is the point at which all the party systems and processes come together. My office is responsible for making sure they all work properly, from candidate selection to elections and by-elections, to running coalitions, to our legal processes, to all of the internal functions that a party has, which are many, the communication systems, everything. So it's a job that I certainly can't do on my own. There are lots of people involved in getting all of those functions and systems and processes working well, but I'm ultimately responsible for holding the strings together.
Yeah, so it's like you're busy with a major overhaul, as I've seen some reports say. Going forward, what would that look like? What will keep you busy as the chair of the Federal Council?
Well, every day there's a lot of life in a political party. So every single day we're preparing for the next election. Every single day we are ensuring that we put out communications. Every single day we are preparing for all of our events and other things. Every single day we're running governments. Every single day we are taking law cases. That sort of thing keeps me busy every day, and no one day is the same. We just go on from day to day and do our things as they arise.
Yeah, from what I've seen in other media reports, you are the only name that's sort of been nominated for federal chair. So that might make it like it's a shoe-in, that you won't face an opposition, that nobody else has been nominated. How does that make you feel, if it's true?
No, it's not true. There is another nominee. There's another nomination. It's a lady from Pretoria. And I haven't seen the list of nominations yet, but I just know that it's somebody from Pretoria who's contesting as well.
Yeah. How confident are you of winning this?
Look, I go into every electoral contest with humility. I never say this is a shoo-in, because it isn't. And in the DA, we don't do coronations, we do contestations. And it is good to have a contest for a position. It's never good to have one person just obviously taking it. And so I welcome the competition. It's very necessary in a democratic organization.
Yeah. What bothers you the most currently about the fortunes of the DA? You are still the official opposition. The general election of 2024 is looming large. We don't know the date yet. It will be marking a very historic moment for our country as the 30th anniversary of a democratic South Africa. In building up to that, what bothers you? What gives you sleepless nights?
Well, nothing gives me sleepless nights anymore, because I've been under so much stress and pressure in my life that if it was a thing of sleepless nights, I would never sleep again. So I'm very able to switch off at night, and I'm grateful for that gift. Look, the shattering of the voters' base is a very worrying factor, and the instability that results from it. So instead of consolidating the opposition vote into one formidable and strong bloc, it shatters between all these tiny parties, and then you end up having these huge multi-party coalitions that are essentially ungovernable and unmanageable and chronically unstable. and therefore can't provide a better alternative than the ruling party. And so that shattering, that division amongst opposition voters is a very worrying factor and should be a trend that we're all concerned about if we want for the future.
Yeah, but where would the responsibility lie then for a more solid opposition? Is it maybe the DA is failing in connecting with the broader majority of South Africans to garner more support?
The DA is the only party that gets 1/3 of its votes from all the different population groups, the major population groups. So 1/3 of our support comes from Black South Africans, 1/3 of our support comes from white South Africans, 1/3 of our support comes from colored South Africans. And this is independently polled and independently verified, so it's not a DA statistic. So the DA draws its support very, very broadly. Obviously, we want to deepen and widen that, so that's always on the agenda. But what is a worry is identity politics, which shatters the votes according to biological identity and into smaller and smaller groups, which makes stability very, very difficult. And also PR systems, proportional representation systems, have the inevitable consequence of breaking up the vote into smaller and smaller units, because people can get elected not in a constituency where they have to have 50% plus one of the vote, but they just have to gather a few votes across the board and they can still get one seat and get themselves elected. So you have more and more parties that are smaller and smaller and smaller. That's the consequence of a proportional representation system that hasn't got any thresholds. And unfortunately, that is the case with South Africa's system. So, for example, in Nelson Mandela Bay, you'll find that we're in a 10-party coalition. 5 of those parties only have 1 seat, and some of the others have 2. And then only 1 has 3. And then, of course, the DA has over 40% of the vote there. So you'll find that we're in a 10-party coalition, and a party with only 1 seat, that is 0.2% of the vote, can determine who governs in that metro. And that isn't democracy at all. And it has some very perverse consequences. That is a big problem.
Yeah. So it sounds like, from what we are saying, your answer, that there's a need for some electoral reform, the Electoral Act in South Africa, and how going forward it should change.
Yes, indeed. And we've put forward private members' bills to achieve that outcome. It's very important to do that. And we've proposed thresholds that if you don't get 2% of the vote in an election, then you're not entitled to representation. And that is the way that the proportional representation systems that I know about that work, operate. They all have thresholds. South Africa doesn't.
Okay, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Helen Zille, a federal chair of the chair of the Federal Council of the official opposition, the DA. She's been nominated again for a second 3-year term. And of course, the opposition, the official opposition, will be holding its Congress in April.